So this is Sri Vrindavan Mahimamrita by Prabhupada Saraswati. Beautiful descriptions of the forms of the Radharani's maidservants, these Palyadasi Kinkaris or Manjaris. These are called Pransakis. They're a little bit younger than Radharani, just like in the old days. A queen would have so many, I don't know what they're called exactly, there's a name for them, but maid servants or something, maidens.
Dasis.
Dasis, yeah, that's correct, quite correct. The Mahishi or the Rani would have many dasis. They were generally, of course, much younger. They were in their teens. The queen was usually, of course, she was also quite young in those days. They would be girls that were just at the juncture of puberty. They had some idea of what men were and husbands were and all these things. So they could assist the queen in various ways by dressing her and serving her, dressing her hair and bathing and all these things that the lady servants would do. So Radharani is the Rani, she's Radharani, she's the queen of Vrindavan, Vrishabhananandini Radha, Vrindavaneshwari Radha. Well, she is the daughter of Vrishabhanu, and she got married and went to Yavat, and she became the reigning queen of Yavat, and she's already been coronated in an elaborate ceremony. She was independently made Vrindavaneshwari, the queen of all Brajmandal, Radharani. You must have heard this name, Vrindavaneshwari Radha. So she has so many maidservants, these Pransakis. So they serve her. They call her Ishwari. One of Radharani's popular names is Ishwari, like a queen. Ishwari means queen or ruler, controller. So Radharani is 14, 15 like this. But then these maidservants, these maidens, they're generally unmarried, although some are married. Most of them are actually married, Manjaris. But they're a little bit younger. They're like 11, 12, like this. A couple of years younger than Radharani. So a little bit, there's more innocence there and more tenderness and playfulness also. This is text 92. Describing a generic meditation on what these manjaris look like. Ati shamam madhye pritutara nitam bati masrina prabha puram divyojvala ruchira satyapi dadatim kwanat kanchi damam ranitamani manjira charanam spurachchura ratnangara mridula dorabali lalitam. The Pransaki's waist is thin and her rounded hips are extremely sublime and attractive. She wears a very fine, attractive, it says sari, but it's not really sari in Sanskrit. Let's say dress. Golden necklaces and jeweled anklets that make sweet tingling sounds. Her two arms are exceedingly beautiful because they are decorated with jewel-studded bracelets and armlets. So we can see that they're not very poverty-stricken. And generally, it's also told that the manjaris, what they're wearing is the prasadi of Radharani, is also told. And this should be part of the meditation. They said, what I'm wearing has been worn by Radharani. And everything that's worn by Radharani is full of Sham Ras and Radha Ras. So it's very, very special. It's not just anklets or a dress, but it's a dress that carries the fragrance of Radharani, the fragrance of her transcendental form or body, and the fragrance of her love, that kusam prem, that fragrant love that Radharani's that's exuding from Radharani's heart and spreading throughout her mind and body, and of course lending a nice fragrance to her cloth. And the mandris receive that. Like sometimes if someone receives some cloth from the deities, if you smell that cloth, it smells very nice. And that was one thing, I always think of Prabhupada for some reason, it goes that way. But one devotee, I remember when he was in Los Angeles, one brahmachari, and the servant was usually washing Prabhupada's clothes, but this particular day he couldn't do that, so he asked my brahmachari friend, because I was also washing clothes when I joined. That's what I went to college for. I got a degree so I could learn how to wash clothes. So I was delegated as a humble servant in the beginning, 40 years ago. For some time, a few weeks, I was washing the clothes of the devotees, the brahmacharis, who were going on the streets and performing Harinam Sankirtan, Shobhayatra, and also selling Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam to the conditioned souls. And that was my seva, to wash them and iron them. Well, they didn't actually iron them, just fold them nicely. Iron clothes, not too much popular in this country, at least with the brahmacharis in those days. And somehow it all went on. In the modern world, it sounds inconceivable that someone would go to work or go to college without an iron shirt or iron pants. It's pretty much standard fare. Especially in India, people are very particular about that. You know, everything has to be dry cleaned and whatnot. And quite a high expense also. But we went out every day to the airport and our pants and shirts weren't even ironed. Just kind of hand pressed like this. Because they were hardly pressed because we didn't care about impressing. We only cared about expressing. Our clothes weren't pressed because we didn't care about impressing people. We were all about expressing Harikatha and the Siddhanta, Tattva Siddhanta of the Bhagavad Gita. What is the knowledge of Gita? So we were pracharaks. We were preaching. And the dress doesn't make the man. Our Gurudev, Srila Prabhupada said, you can judge a man by what he says and by how he acts, by his speech and his actions. This is how we judge a man. And in modern Kali Yuga, people are very externally oriented. Fancy car, fancy clothes, oh, he's a gentleman. Although he eats dead animals, his belly is a cemetery for dead animals. His belly is a cemetery for dead animals, rabbits, turkeys, chicken. Let's say the birds. And rabbits, that's a beast, a little rodent or whatever it is. Rabbits, goats, turkeys, chicken, fish, etc. are all in the graveyard of his stomach. And he has a Rolex watch on his wrist. Solid gold Rolex. And he has a Brooks Brothers suit, wool tweed suit from Brooks Brothers. And he's wearing the most costly wing-tipped shoes and carrying a Halliburton suitcase. He has all, diamond rings and all the beautiful gold chains. And he's worth lakhs just his ornamentation and his dress. He's simply a walking cemetery with dead bodies in his belly. So what he eats is abominable, unmentionable, carnivorous being. Then he speaks all nonsense. Nothing alokik, nothing transcendental. Sports and politics and of course movies and travel and women. That's what men talk about. So this is not a very high class of human being by the standard of my spiritual master. Our voice is meant to speak something of God and to vibrate some kirti. We have one lady's name is Kirti. So kirti means to vibrate the glories and mahima, the glories and the vyavahara and characteristics of God. This is kirti, Krishna kirti. We have something called kirtan. Krishna kirti, kirtitan, kirtan. So they're very beautiful suit. Oh, there's another translation we can read. 1092. and it's here. What time is it?
4:33.
Yes, we're out.
We started at 3:40.
Oh, okay, anyway. That's alright, we're still going to stop. So we'll stop on this one. 92. The Mandri Pransaki of Radharani, her maidservant, her waist is very tender. Excuse me, her waist is very slender. She wears lovely glistening sari over the beautiful splendor of her very broad hips. She wears a tinkling sash of bells and tinkling jeweled ankle bells, whose graceful and delicate vine-like arms are decorated with jeweled armlets and glistening bracelets. So this is she's highly ornamented and extremely attractive. Because she's serving Radharani, she's the queen. And the servants that are around her and moving with her and interacting with her and serving her are equally, let's not say equally, but also extremely attractive and beautiful. And ultimately, we will be one of those servants of Radharani, if Radharani directs her mercy to us. So we'll continue there tomorrow. Vrindavan Mahimamrita ki jai.